It all began on what was supposed to be just another ordinary night in Huntsville. The type of night where people scroll endlessly through social media feeds, reading comments, watching lives, and reacting to snippets of other people's lives without much thought. Most of the time, nothing stands out. Most nights blend into one another. But that night was different. That night, social media caught fire because of Arionne Curry, a woman who had carefully built an online persona defined by calmness, composure, and an almost unnerving sense of being unbothered. She had perfected the art of appearing untouchable, seemingly unaffected by criticism, gossip, or drama. Viewers admired her for it, respected it even, because in a world of chaos, she seemed to have mastered serenity. Yet, all of that meticulously crafted composure cracked on that night, in a way that no one could have predicted. At first, viewers didn't know what they were witnessing. Arionne began her live stream like any other, casually addressing questions from fans, offering small insights, and maintaining her signature calm demeanor. But soon, her voice began to waver, and her hand trembled just enough to reveal the humanity she usually kept hidden. In that split second, her defenses crumbled, and tears threatened to spill over. It wasn't for content. It wasn't a ploy to gain sympathy or increase engagement. This was raw, unfiltered emotion displayed in real time for thousands of viewers who had grown accustomed to seeing her as untouchable. The vulnerability was striking because it broke the illusion she had carefully maintained for years, and it was impossible to look away. The timing of this emotional unraveling was particularly explosive. Moments before Arionne's breakdown, Martell had gone live himself, setting the stage for what would become a social media spectacle. For those familiar with Martell, going live is never casual. Every time he hits that button, it signals that he has something significant to say, something that will stir discussion, provoke reactions, and often ignite chaos. That night, he directed his attention toward his ex, Melody Sherry, declaring that he was done keeping secrets and hinting that the narrative had been distorted for too long. Martell promised to set the record straight, a phrase that immediately triggered curiosity, speculation, and anticipation among his followers. Within minutes, his live stream exploded from a modest few hundred viewers to tens of thousands. Martell began slow, almost conversational, but beneath that casual tone was an unmistakable edge, the kind of intensity that forces you to pay attention. He dropped fragmented hints, careful enough to maintain suspense, yet revealing enough to suggest he held information that could completely change how people viewed the situation. Conversations, betrayals, and accusations were thrown into the mix, painting a portrait of personal and emotional entanglement that was far messier than most outsiders could have imagined. The tension was palpable, and the viewers were hooked. But what no one could have anticipated was the reaction of Arionne, who was watching all of this unfold in real time. For years, Arionne had cultivated the image of someone impervious to drama, brushing off criticism and laughing at online attacks. Yet, as Martell spoke, her face shifted. It was subtle at first, a tightening of the jaw, a slight frown, the blink of an eye that betrayed recognition and hurt. Then came the floodgates. Comment section erupted with viewers noticing her expression, tagging her, asking if she was okay, capturing and screen recording every nuance. Moments later, Arionne went live herself, and in that instant, the internet seemed to freeze. The split-screen effect of Martell confidently sharing his side of the story while Arionne quietly unraveled was unlike anything seen before. A reality TV moment without a script. Arionne's stream was not a performance. She didn't launch into an angry rant or deliver a rehearsed clapback. Instead, her pain was palpable, radiating through every pause, every shaky breath, and every tear. Viewers could see heartbreak, humiliation, and regret collide in real time. The contrast between the two lives, Martell's explosive declarations and Arionne's silent suffering, created a tension that was both unbearable and mesmerizing. It revealed a deeper truth about their relationship, one that years of social media posts and public appearances had carefully hidden. Every tear Arionne shed felt like a culmination of years spent pretending she didn't care, years spent convincing herself and the world that she had moved on, only to have that illusion shattered in a single moment. As the clip spread across TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, people began asking the obvious question: why now? Why would Arionne break down at this particular moment? Some speculated guilt, others suggested lingering love, but most concluded that this was the moment she realized she could never fully escape Martell's gravitational pull. His presence, his words, and the chaos he intentionally creates made it impossible for her to maintain the distance she had fought so hard to establish. Martell, for his part, thrives on this chaos. The louder the drama, the more alive he seems. He doesn't simply communicate, he performs. He crafts a narrative and sells it, often leaving everyone else caught in the fallout. That night, his performance had a dual purpose. He wanted viewers to align with his perspective, to see Melody in a negative light, and to feel the weight of his truth. But beneath the bravado was a man struggling to maintain control. His accusations of betrayal, his constant references to loyalty and deception all felt like weapons, words designed to dominate and provoke, while simultaneously exposing his own desperation. Some viewers recognized this. They called out projection, questioned his motives, and debated whether his narrative was authentic or just another act in his ongoing performance. Meanwhile, Arionne's vulnerability had already begun to shift the public's perception. What started as gossip had transformed into something profoundly human. Viewers dissected her every blink, every tremor, and every hesitant word as if trying to read the story hidden between her tears. Was she crying because she still loved Martell? Was it because she felt exposed to the world in a way she had never allowed herself to feel before? Or was it a realization that so much of her identity had become entangled with the chaos he brought into her life? Insiders whispered about weeks of tension, arguments that escalated into shouting, and disagreements over what should remain private versus what would be aired publicly. Arionne had apparently begged Martell not to go live that night, not to protect Melody, but because she understood how uncontrollable the situation would become. Her warnings went unheeded, and the livestream became a harsh reminder of how easily she could be pulled back into the storm she had worked so hard to leave behind. Martell's ability to oscillate between victim and villain was on full display. One moment he appeared vulnerable, misunderstood, and in need of sympathy. The next, he dropped hints designed to provoke speculation and create drama. It's a pattern he has perfected. Curiosity as currency. But this time, the strategy backfired. Instead of garnering empathy, he invited scrutiny. People began to see him for what he was, a man addicted to attention, unable to accept being forgotten, especially as Melody moved on with quiet dignity. Her silence became a powerful statement. While Martell ranted and Arionne cried, Melody remained untouched by the drama. She didn't post a story, a status, or a comment. Her composure contrasted sharply with the emotional chaos surrounding her, highlighting a truth that is often overlooked in social media warfare. Silence can be louder than words. Fans quickly noticed, praising her restraint, claiming she had proven that peace truly is the best revenge. The more she stayed silent, the more Martell's rant seemed empty and performative. The live streams and posts that once made him infamous now appeared petty, a man shouting into the wind while the person he intended to hurt remained unaffected. Arionne, despite her breakdown, began to garner a different kind of attention. People weren't just seeing her for her past strength or her boldness online, they were seeing her as human, vulnerable, and deeply relatable. Her tears, her moment of genuine emotion, transformed her image in the eyes of the public, revealing a complexity that her curated online persona had never allowed. Producers from reality networks reportedly took notice. The The raw emotion, the chaotic energy, and the quiet strength demonstrated by all parties involved, Arionne, Martell, and Melody, were exactly the kind of unscripted drama television thrives on. Discussions about specials or spin-offs began circulating, proving the irony. The very breakdown that might have seemed damaging to Arionne's public image had the potential to revitalize her career, creating opportunities that had never existed before. Behind all the public spectacle, there was a deeper, more personal story unfolding. Arionne's struggle with Martell was not only romantic, but psychological. The highs were euphoric, the lows catastrophic. She had built an identity around being the woman who understood him, who could navigate the turbulent waters of his personality and maintain stability. When that stability was betrayed, it left her with nothing to hold on to. The tears on her livestream were not simply about losing Martell, they were about losing herself. It was a moment of reckoning, a confrontation with the truth of what years of emotional entanglement can do to someone's sense of self. As public attention shifted, people began recognizing a larger narrative. This was not merely a love triangle gone wrong. It was a public exhibition of emotional dependency and control, played out before millions. Arionne embodied those who stayed too long, hoping someone will change. Martell represented those who confuse control with love, and Melody, calm and silent, represented the power of letting go, the dignity of choosing peace, even in the midst of chaos. Weeks later, the social media frenzy began to settle, but the impact of that night remained. Arionne posted less frequently, her captions grew quieter, and the defiance that once defined her online presence gave way to reflection. For the first time, she appeared to understand what true strength really means. Not the strength of pretending nothing affects you, but the strength of allowing yourself to feel, to grieve, and to process. In the end, that night in Huntsville revealed truths that no curated post, no dramatic comeback, and no viral headline could ever fully capture. Sometimes the most powerful moments are not the ones we perform for the world, but the ones that leave us raw, exposed, and human. That night, Arionne, Martell, and Melody taught the internet a lesson it would never forget. Control, chaos, and composure are all illusions. But vulnerability is real.